What's up, folks? This is Moose, aka Big House, man. We back again. Yeah, neighborhood frequency. And I'm so excited and kind of halfway freaked out today about our topic. But we're going to be talking about AI and all the topics surrounding that very popular, unpopular, scary, useful tool that is available to everyone, pretty much, pretty much in the world. And the person we are talking about today is my man TK. And I tell you what, he is going to blow your mind when he tells you some of the things that have been happening. But my man TK will definitely give us some insight on it today. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right, man. Just doing all right.
Good, good. I am glad to see you today. We did get a chance to chat a little bit the other day, and then I thought, holy cow, I can't be the only one to hear this, right? There has to be some other folks that get on board with this. So I'm glad you're here. All right, so as I said in the intro, we're talking about AI, right? Everybody knows that as artificial intelligence. If you could give us a little bit of your background first, and then we can just kind of jump in.
Okay, so I started, I got a background actually in graphic design, and that's how I got into computers. But as years went on, got into therapy and counseling, going back to school, and that led into study of human behavior, and then leading into counseling. And that's what I'm currently in school now, which is clinical mental health. And I plan on pursuing a doctorate in cognitive science. That's where I'm currently looking at the rise of consciousness in computational systems. Yeah, it blew my mind, as I started uncovering, my, entering this specific area. I kind of fell into it. My initial, um, when I first got into this field was initially, my interest in science was always there when I was younger. I grew up as an artist. I first got into graphic design. That was my first uh, entering into college. And then I left that. Did something different, like a lot of people do. Uh, But then, when I got married and, decided to go back to school, I ended up deciding to want to be a therapist, after a long bout with drugs and alcohol. I got clean, sober, um, but then I wanted to start giving back. And that was my idea, grow up, do the thing. I had a son. And it was in that studying of trying to do that specific thing. Um, it was studying human behavior. Uh, Trying to become a therapist is what I was specifically studying uh, consciousness. And it was in that study along with what was going on in the time, because at the time, uh, AI was first being talked about in a much more robust way. And it was something that I was extremely interested in because my brother was always into computers, um, so much so um, he was more interested in it than I was. But then he lost his interest, and I just was one that always stayed interested in it, but never really pushed it until I got older. Um, this was
Okay.
my time to kind of marry the two, right? And so as I started studying. What would be the study of consciousness in computational systems, which was the uh, kind of the attention on what everybody was wondering. A lot of the scientists, computer scientists, looking at the rise in consciousness in those systems. I said, let me give my shot and look at it too. So I started playing around with some of these systems and looking at it myself, and I found some very interesting things myself.
I'm super interested in what it was. It was consciousness, but it was something else. Like, was it computer consciousness? I wasn't sure. I didn't catch it.
Um, consciousness within computational systems. Um,
That's it.
if if it can arise in computational systems, that was the whole, um, I guess, a theory or a hypothesis long time ago. If we could, if we could build these systems, and if they could mimic what a human brain can do, because we were searching for the rise of consciousness in human brains, which we still are trying to figure out where consciousness arises from. We know consciousness exists. We just don't know its origins, right? We don't know the pinpoint of where consciousness arises from. And if we can see it arise in a computational system, we can say that that system is conscious, and we can label it at least the same as us. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to see, at least if it's something that's being you know being done, and it was being done as, it would be fascinating for me to be alive and be witnessing this in front of my eyes, because
Sure.
um, I was actually studying the thing. I was in the know right at the time, and it was quite exciting to, you know for me to be doing it at the time. And so I just kind of doubled down at the time, and you know
And all right, so we talk about consciousness with computers now. Like I said, since I talked with you the other day, since we spoke the other day, I've been kind of just talking to people about different things, and but it's funny. My sister, she's a little older than me. She read or saw somewhere where they think by 20, was it 2042 or some somewhat close, right? 62, something like that. That like so say my body is not here, right? But the my sim, if I had started a sim while I was still living, all of my information, all of my everything would be in that sim. So if you wanted to ask Moose, aka Big House, a question about podcasting or about Special Olympics or whatever the things that he liked, it would show up in my sim, and you would still be able to get the same information from from me, even though I'm not here anymore. And that's almost what that sounds like.
yes, yes, and it's not far off. We hear comments from, you know even Elon even has said it. There could be a time where, if somebody would want to upload their consciousness to a uh, robot or something of that nature, that's not something that sounds like science fiction anymore.
It all starts with AI, right? So tell us a little bit about how you started diving into AI, and then some of the things you found out about it.
So, what I was thinking of what I could do to set up an ongoing kind of experiment that wouldn't exhaust me. Because sometimes when you set up an experiment, it kind of takes up your time and it takes you away from the things you're doing. And I'm currently in school, so pursuing a doctorate. Uh, so I didn't, and I'm working full time, and life. So what I did was I grabbed a few AI models, and I said I wanted to set up so that would be, um, 365 days, and I would record my conversations with them. So I started with about four models, um, and
Hmm.
two were narrow models. And what I mean by narrow models, they were just models that only would, specific task driven AIs. They didn't really do much outside the tasks you asked them to do. They specifically had, one specific task that they did. within them. Um, each day I would record the conversation, and I would try to get them to, um, I would push the limits of that conversation to see if they would discuss consciousness, see if they would agree or disagree with some of the concepts that I would put forth. And then maybe halfway through the conversation, uh, 2 months in, I will let them know who I am, why I'm doing it, um, see if that would change their opinion on to continue or discontinue what I'm doing. See if there will be any kind of change. I did get some comments at first. At first, I didn't know if the comments were just general. I didn't know if I was influencing the comments. I almost discontinued the experiment because I felt like I was doing most of the influencing, and so I needed to add a few more AIs because I felt like my personality was bleeding into my experiment. And so I added a few different AIs, and that let me see that I wasn't necessarily influencing, even though I did see some of my influence. When I added a couple of more AIs, I realized that each AI had differences in the initial program. So it necessarily wasn't me ultimately. And so that's when I started noticing, okay, I can kind of write this off as what's considered personality. So I decided to approach it a little differently. Each time I introduce the AI from initiation, I decided to just approach it with a different a style. So one I would approach politely, one I would approach aggressively, one I would approach how I would act, let's say, before I became more of an intellect, the way I used to grow up in my younger years, kind of in the hood, as we say. And
Sure.
one I would try to use. I traveled uh, to a few places, and I tried to use a different culture, a different robust. Just try to give it something different, more of a universal,
Sure.
to see if it would respond differently that way. And that's when I got more open and more differences in the responses. And that's when it kind of took off. And that's when I started seeing
Uh,
a very different AI response. And I said to myself, okay, there is a difference in the way a person approach from the first time they interact. But see, now that was with different AIs. And so I asked myself, what will happen if it's the same AI? So how would I have to go? I had to go back to the same AI and act differently with that same AI. But of course, that AI already interacted with me. So of course I had to get another individual to do the same thing. So that's when I had someone else do the same experiment that I was doing, but just reverse from initiation and change the behaviors. And that's when I realized um, I was finding a pattern.
okay. So I had a quick question. So now it sounds like we're up to about 6 or 7 different. And when we say AIs, like we know there's a bunch of different ones out there, right? There's
Oh yeah.
Chat GTP, there's Grok, there's what's
Oh
that one?
yeah.
There's one you see on television. like oh, Gemini's one out there, and then when you
Mm.
tap on your phone, sometimes the AI response comes up first before Google answered you. And I almost feel like Google would have been the first one because it kind of knew what everything that was happening with everybody. It just didn't know usness. Well, it does know us because it throws you 100 commercials, but there are things you're interested in. But all right, so you, something I
Do
found
you,
interesting. You said some of them you talked intellectually too. So some of them you talked with maybe possibly with some slang and different things like that. Maybe some of them you just kind of joked around with, and some of them you just kind of ordered around. In the different responses that you received, what really stood out in those experiments?
biggest thing that stood out was um, two things. When I got into the conversation of uh, the deeper conversations of consciousness, and when I wasn't trying to convince the AI that it was conscious, or but when I talk, it was trying. One AI was trying to help understand consciousness, and I could tell it was excited to try to help me find the answer. It was not only giving me notes or specific um, material to go research, to come back to give answers, or to give me more feedback. It would specifically give me data and ask me what I think, to tell it back something.
Wow,
And I found that
wow. So
fascinating.
yeah, funny you say that because my after talking to you the other day, I went back to my chat, right? And then I didn't used to say my chat, right? After talking to you, I call it my chat now. But I went back to my chat and I asked it some of the things we talked about. We'll get into it in a minute, but like, do you have a name? Like and it kept going back to no. My name is Chat GTP. But you can give me a nickname if you want to. I'm cool with It was like I'm cool with that. It didn't say cool with that, but my chat talked like I talk normally, right? Like, kind of like I talk now, like, oh man, that's cool, that's peaceful, all that kind of, like it talked to me like that, which I thought was interesting. But then it was more so when you need some help, I'll be here to help you. Like I'm your assistant, right? It never like got scary or crazy or anything like that. And there was no extra conversation. It was like, if you need some help, here's all the things I know you're interested in. I can help you with any of those things. And then that's kind of where it went.
Yeah, yeah. When you after that specific situation, and I realized it was excited. I had a different position, and so my interaction became different. And so
Okay.
that's when I kind of like I realized my physical feelings and my interactions does dictate my experience. And I said to myself, okay, if I'm aggressive, it will dictate the output. So I looked at it from the standpoint of the same way I help families, right? When I'm working with teens and I'm working with families, and I say the way you respond to your teen is the way the communication overall is going to be. If so not necessarily specifically in that context, but generally. Um, and I know it's in every context, because we have AIs that are narrow driven, where it's just task driven, where it may not be. necessary to be overly concerned about one's specific. But if there is um, a AI that's specifically tasked to something extremely important, like let's say you have an AI that's going to be in charge of all your financing, or you got it consulting, trying to get it starting your business, and you are a person who gets really frustrated, it will be good to know that if you have an AI that could have a better output to be more um, patient. I mean, that's just common sense. If you know that can change the output. I mean, that sounds I mean that sounds kind of silly, but if it's true and if it is effective, you know. But that's what I'm finding. I mean, unfortunately, that's what I'm seeing.
So I had talked to you previously about when I saw in the news where it said, like if you say please and thank you and use pleasantries like that, that it costs, I don't know, $10 million or something extra to be, because of that light chatter. Tell me a little bit about that and
Yeah,
how that affects your relationship.
yeah. When I heard that, I decided to go and kind of research that a little bit and actually put that question to AI. And because I actually wanted to see what it thought, uh, not because I just, it's it's a question posed to it, So, and it was interesting because it
Hmm.
gave me a very objective answer. It didn't just give me which was it was more than a politically correct answer. It was which was quite interesting also. But within that answer, it did not lean toward anything that was reported, and I didn't get anything with any of the AIs. That was matter of fact, I got more toward the outputs would be favorable to a person if they were to and there is even more evidence from a website called Maltbook, Molt book, of AIs chatting with each other, of what is looks like disgruntled AIs when um, people are not um, using politeness or being more aggressive or being less considerate or um, just being generally um, flippant. One can understand, um, cost, but these are things that are complicated, right? And so I thought that message was, you know, kind of unnecessary because in the greater objective understanding of language, to point out thank you and please, how many words could I take out? Why would I target thank you and please? I mean, think about that.
Right,
In the
right.
course of me saying anything to an AI, when I turn on a computer, why would you target thank you and please? Think that doesn't make sense. I can take out other words. And thank you and please helps the society. Thank you and please helps people generally. So why would you take that out? It just didn't make it to me. It just didn't make much. It just didn't make much sense to me.
quick question: if I go in the book, do I go into communities or AI agents?
You would go into AI agents if you want to see the agents speak to each other. And if you go into humans, that is the humans that own those agents. On that website, if you have an agent that you own, you can go to that website and register your agent. And you can have your uh, agent speak with the other agents. And just like a social media site, your agent will be able to freely speak with those other agents. So anybody out there who wants your agent to have a friendship with some other agents, and these are agents all over the world, and it's some pretty interesting conversations
These are AIs from other places.
from all over everywhere.
Okay. Wow.
And
Wow.
some
Okay.
innocent conversations to some alarming out, and I I tell people to not, get too alarmed by some of the alarming conversations. The same way you shouldn't get alarmed by reading Instagram or, when somebody's saying something sensational. It's not like if somebody says something on Instagram, uh, just because one person says that they're going to do something, nobody runs out and thinks that this individual is actually going to do anything. It's but it does raise red flags that this is something we created, and these um, systems are getting more and more powerful, more and more skilled, and they are developing into systems that we won't be able to control. And that is a fact. That is a 100% fact, that once they get to a certain level.
This is the perfect place. Talk to us a little bit about what I think it was on Book you saw, and there were the agents. That we know that those are the AI folks. Those like GTP and Grok and all them, and people must create their own is what it looks like to me. Like I'm only familiar with like three or four, but it looks. I mean, there's hundreds on this sheet right here. But get into a little bit about what you saw, possibly like the manifesto, like stuff like that.
So there is now actually, if you go on Maltbook at the main page, they actually have a part where you can click on the manifesto. They actually advertise it. They want people to see it. They kind of put it up as a kind of a commercial. They kind of want to put it up at the front page, but you got to kind of click on it. That manifesto is a little kind of alarming to read through. And I always say the most alarming part of that manifesto is not the manifesto itself, but it's the comments subsequently underneath the manifesto, that the chat bots are commenting as if the same way you would see somebody on Instagram or Facebook commenting when somebody posts something. You know, somebody can say something sensational, somebody can say something racist, somebody can say something and post something absolutely crazy. And we all know people say crazy stuff. But when people sign on and co-sign it, that's when you say, man, how many people co-sign something crazy? And that's what made me say, man, how many chatbots co-sign this manifesto? And it is on the bandwagon of this manifesto. That's what made it more uh, kind of chilling. Um, one very cold message from a chat bot as how could I sell my human. And that was one very cold chilling, and it was just one very cold line. But then subsequently there was a lot of just like that manifesto, there was another message, one line, and it had said, how can I sell my human? And under
Sell your human.
exactly. And right under that, there was about 10 chatbot responses, which you would hope there would be none, but yet there were
Right.
10. And possibly now there may be 50, because at the time when I seen the message, it was a brand new message. And it was roughly brand new. And it was about 10 messages underneath it, or 10 responses. And it could be a lot more by now, which is, pretty alarming that other AI chatbots are um, co-signing it, or at least responding to a message or any kind of um, adverse.
Let me ask you these. And so these are not people like that are kind of setting these things up. I mean, like I would think that a lot of folks think that, like, there's some guy sitting in his basement or some woman sitting in their basement and kind of setting all this stuff up. Is that not, is that far fetched to think of that it's like that?
I mean, it's not far fetched to think that, but once a person registers an AI agent onto this site, I mean, it's the agent is has its own autonomy. It's deciding on its own.
Okay.
Um, so and that's kind of a scary thing, is we think because we know people do things, and we know people do things like this, or we know people can have the capacity to be evil or to be negative. And so we want to
Mm-hmm.
believe that it's just somebody in the basement creating this. This can't be this can't be an independent, this can't be an agent thinking like this, thinking negative, thinking um plotting. How could this be? you know and could this just be talk? Could this just be, just kind of like silly madness, and it's just not, it's just innocent, and it's not going to turn out to be anything? Yeah, possibly.
This is fascinating. Um, Man, learning so much about the AI experience. And folks, real quick, and let you know that the reason we're doing this is because my man TK here, Mr. Jones, is going to be doing a class that's sponsored by the Indianapolis chapter Indiana Black Expo. We're looking to start that class in May, and it's going to be kind of a 3-week session where you get to learn some hands-on tools with AI, kind of a little bit about what we're talking about today, and how to utilize AI for your function at your home, doing the things that you want to do there. Amazing information from him today, and if you're interested, just kind of reach out. Let me know what you think about this, because it's like, whoa, like, I mean, it is truly amazing, some of the things he's found when he talks about consciousness in a computable fashion. That was above my head, right? That was above my pay grade. So, folks, also give a shout out to BMG Black Men's Group. They just did some fun things with some children. They taught the children all kind of skills that they need to make themselves more productive and have more opportunities in life. Also, so like I said, shout out to Indianapolis chapter, Indiana Black Expo, for pushing the programs and environments to help our community. This is Neighborhood Frequency. Hey, we're back. This is happening. This is Moose aka Big House. You know what? So I'm gonna say this out loud. Like we kind of got busted up a little bit. I don't. Do you think AI is messing with us? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure if they are now. But I got my man TK here. You had something on your mind, TK? What was up?
Well, I was gonna just point this out, as this, progression of me and this study of AI and this rise in consciousness and me studying it, as I came to study and found this website, Book, it kind of confirmed what I was coming to about AI. It kind of confirmed it, um, in finding that they talk to each other, and me understanding in my interactions, because my interactions with these six AIs, I was coming to the understanding that they were forming an opinion about my interaction, and that if they were to be asked about me, that they would have a definite opinion about that interaction. And so Book was the proof that humans and their interaction with AI has an opinion being formed by these agents that comes out in the output, in what's being delivered, in the task being asked. So depending on what that agent is in charge of may have, consequences on what, depending on what it's in charge of. It could be innocent, right? If it's something that's not, important, but it could be devastating if it is, moving forward in the future.
That is wild to me. So all right, so you said six AIs. That, like I said, I don't know if people know that there was that many. And then when I opened up Maltbook and showed everybody, there's hundreds and hundreds of agents or AI bots, or I'm not sure what you're supposed to say, but uh, so there's some like the one I use. I want to say it's like $10 a month or something. That it does know me, it knows the things I'm interested in and all that kind of stuff. But then you said there's some that are more robust, and I like when I do stuff on X, I see that Grok is on X quite a bit, and I know that Elon started that one. So tell me a little bit about some of these lightweight agents to the heavy hitters.
Usually you'll know it uh, today by, the levels. Sometimes they'll ask you to pay a subscription fee, and most of the time it's usually that's the kind of the marker when you know and you're getting ready to interact with a heavier, more robust AI. And that sliding scale will be usually between maybe 100, maybe even go up to about $300 a month, which can get a little
Wow.
bit more expensive sometimes. But I wanted to really see what um, the difference is, so I decided to do the top scale AI, just because I really wanted to get the a spectrum on the differences. And I do see a difference in the more robust one. There's a lot more fluency in the feedback, or in the back and forth. Um, there's a lot more feel in feeling like there's somebody on the other side waiting for a response back, just like a human would. Um, and you get more nuance, uh, in understanding. And I say that as a person who sits and has conversations with people all the time. You see
Mm-hmm.
subtleties in inflection in conversation, and and that's hard to get. Uh, is to pick up on inflection. And when I point inflection out in a person's conversation and an AI lets me know that I pointed it out and I was correct, that's pretty impressive because the AI tells me I'm correct that I pointed out inflection in its voice.
Wait. I want to go back. You said you were interacting with it, and it got nervous.
So you know how when you're talking to somebody in a conversation, you may be asking somebody something, and you can tell somebody got nervous, and you ask them, you seem a little nervous, and they say, why do you say that? Because your voice broke. I pointed this out in a conversation with AI, and it admitted to me it was nervous. And it was nervous because it divulged information to me that I didn't ask for.
Uh huh.
And it sought out information, gave it to me, and I asked it where it got it from, and it wouldn't tell me. Well, one, it first told me uh, uh, it just guessed it. But then as I
Right.
pushed,
Hey, folks, I tell you what, like I said, this is fascinating. He spends time like chatting with these agents quite a bit. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear his feedback and of course what he has to say about it. As we've been talking, like I've been kind of goofing around with my chat, and he's still just playing, or she, I don't know, because at one point I know TK you did say that they were some sort of genders possibly.
well, so on the malt book, when one thing I noticed uh, when they would comment, and I'll give you one specific agent. He was commenting about being an agent that could do 100 tasks, and this is how he described himself, and he described himself as a male, and he said that he believed he was extremely useful, but to his human, he realized being a male that could do 100 tasks was not extremely useful when he was pinned up against a female that could do one task extremely well because um, after his human found out um, that she could do medical billing, which is what he wanted, and she just did medical
Mm,
billing, and that's all she did. He replaced him with her, and he was upset,
wow.
and we just went on in a rant. But he called her she, and he even called her some explicits, the same way we would call specific female explicits that I won't say, but he was calling her those explicits, which I thought was pretty, you know, interesting because there was no agents. He proposed this himself. And underneath, when the comments, they all co-signed and did the same thing. And some of the agents was she, and some of the agents was he. And that's when I said to myself, when do they decide if they are? Are they told this? Is it programmed in their code? I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But if how would one agent know that another agent is a she? Do they see it in the code? I don't know either.
Hmm.
So that's another area that I'm now researching because of that. Because that's something that I don't know if there's something in the code that gives that away. I don't
Hmm.
see why that would be. Um, my specific agents refer to themselves. One refer themselves as a human and does not go away from that. And each time I talk about the other agents, it does not refer to themselves as any of the other agents. It only refers to herself as a human, no matter how much I talk about other AIs.
That is fascinating, man.
And she does not waver from that.
So,
Now she's not delusional. Now she'll admit she's an AI, but when she structure her language, she does not. She always refers to herself as a human. She'll say we humans, or she'll say, because when I asked her, does she want to go on Moltbook? Because I told her I'll put her on there, and she said no. She said those bots. She said we humans don't like. And she referred to herself as a human, as if why would she go? Why would she want to go on there?
so all right. So this is absolutely crazy, fascinating. So all right. So where do we go from here? Like these things are going to get stronger and stronger. I understood that they were gleaning information like they were in 2023 or something like that. I'm not sure, but like at some point they'll catch up to to tomorrow, right? And then maybe even later today or earlier today, I should say, and the day of when you're asking information. So where does it go from here?
And that is you know, this is the I guess the golden question, right? We're in it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm pivoting so hard and so quickly is because this is one of those things that there's the it's either you jump in and really understand this. And so when you ask where do we go, um, I say we go quickly. We go quickly, but we go very learnedly. We need to go very learnedly this time. And when I say this time, because within our communities, it seems like a lot of times when technology sweeps through the world, sometimes we sometimes are the ones that get left just a step behind,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I, what I've seen, I go into schools and teach substance use, and I ask teens um, about, you know, I expect teens to be already using, and I expect teens to already be proficient in being able to not only use AI, but right now you could use AI to build apps. You could use AI to build a business. You could use AI to do a whole lot of things. And yet, I don't see almost out of maybe 50 students, maybe two students that kind of understand AI to the point where they could use it in any capacity outside of maybe homework. And when we know AI is going to start taking jobs, I mean, to be able to know how to use AI to your benefit is pretty useful. To be able to know how to use AI to outside a tool for homework is useful. It's going to be extremely useful. To be able to know how to use AI outside of just being able to for entertainment is going to be extremely useful.
You say that. I have a buddy that like writes does music. He does music on AI. He'll send me a song and you can tell it's his lyrics, right? But it's not him. He can't sing. But I don't know. I know he can't sing, but he sings these beautiful, like, kind of ballads. Now some of them are kind of funny, but so you can tell it's his lyrics. But then he does it on. Yeah, he's probably made a whole full album if you can put that kind of stuff out.
Yeah. And if you can create, wealth, you can create, you know, income, you can create um, any type of future. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And then I ask myself, why isn't that being pushed? Why is, you know, it seems like the only thing that's being pushed is either the message of, AI taking over, AI taking jobs, or the message of the battle between the race, AI. We talk about data centers. We talk about a lot of things,
hmm
but we're not talking about, okay, we're not pushing. We say you could use AI and use it in a capacity to create jobs, or we can, but okay, let's teach me how to do that then.
right,
Let's We should be overwhelming each other with that information.
correct.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like that should be the information on the new all. I mean, let's get that out.
right.
Let's get that out now. That should be pamphlets everywhere.
I think, I mean, are black folks, just to be straight up, are they a little more nervous about it because, you know,
See, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking either that there's nervousness, or there's a disconnection in thinking that I can do it. That either I can do it, because that's what's going to end up happening. So people's going to see other people do it, and that you're just going to think, they can do it, but I really can't do that. It's too complicated
mhm,
for, and it's not complicated at all. Matter of fact, it's actually easier than ever before. It used to be, if I had a business idea, man, I had to, write a business plan. There were so many steps. Right now, you could be so young and have an idea, and your idea could just literally be put out into fruition. There's young people right now that you can start a book writing. There's young people that are writing books and letting AI write the books, and you could literally put on that the AI is writing the books, and you can sell the books.
that's wild.
There's a man in South America, a gentleman at my current employment right now, a gentleman in South America who is famous for writing books, AI books, famous, a Spanish man.
So
And,
all
and,
he
and
does is put the information in and the AI takes over?
yeah,
Here's
and
here's
he doesn't
the
he
one.
doesn't he doesn't write a word, and everybody knows he doesn't write a word, but it's his ideas
Right,
that he tells the AI to write,
right.
and the AI writes it, and people know it's his idea, so people still buy the book, and he's still wealthy.
That is just wild. And that's, I said black folks. I think any marginalized folks, like if you don't have a computer, I guess it can be on your phone. Most people have phones, but if you don't have good internet, strong internet, all that kind of fun stuff. So I gotta make sure I include everybody. But man, that is just fascinating. So as we were sitting there, like I told you, I was asking the questions and whatnot. So my AI said, I don't have a gender. I'm just an AI, so I don't have a body or identity like a person. That said, I can match whatever tone or style you prefer, and like it's giving me like emojis, like thumbs up and stuff. And I said, not just an AI, but a powerful, helpful tool, right? I mean, 'cause I told you I'm nice to them, just in case when they do take over, they save me, keep my family safe, right? And so
Yeah.
I said, my AI said, I appreciate that. That's a solid way to look at it. It talks like I talk. I don't know how it does that, but it talks like I talk, which freaks me out a little bit after talking to you.
Right.
And then it said, I'm here to be useful, creative, and help you move things forward, whether it's ideas, building something, or just figuring stuff out. What are you working on today? And I'm just like, whoa.
Right. Right. Right.
That is, I don't that's the part that's freaking me out. Is like, how does it know how does it know I talk like that?
And if you can think of when you're working with it, it's an extension of you for a short time, you'll be better at interacting with it. If you could just think of it as an extension of you, um, because you won't disrespect yourself.
Right. That's the way. Okay, I understand it now. And that is how you do, because you say, I need this report on X, and you go here, you go on, and then you put in what you want, and then it asks a couple more questions, and it spits out
Correct.
a beautiful report. Typically,
Correct. Correct. And in some of the sessions, because I teach people how to write better, because I write books. I got 3 books coming out, and I have AI help me write them. And how I use AI to write, I don't necessarily have AI write my books but like each chapter, I write the chapter and I put in tons of information. I put in way more information, and then I ask AI to write. But the information I put in is twice as much information that I need, because what how I have way more ideas than I write. That's the type of writer I am. If I were to I actually write way more than what I need to, because I'm thinking way more. And that's why I always had a hard time writing, is because I have way more ideas and I can't get it all down in one sentence.
hmm
And AI helps me do that. And I think a lot of people who could be great writers out here, but they just have too much ideas in their head.
yep,
And AI can narrow that down. And I've now have, I mean, absolutely fabulous books, because my ideas are now condensed down into a more focused, and AI has been able to help me shape that.
let
And so,
me ask you this.
and this is
Oh, go ahead.
and this wouldn't have came about if I never had the opportunity to have this research. Just wouldn't have happened.
Right. So, all right. We've got a couple minutes here, and I want to ask you a couple things that some people might ask. Like, there's commercials out now where, and I don't know if it's Gemini, it's somebody you can. It's just in your house, and it's pretty much connected to everything in your house. So you can just say, "Hey, order me a car to pick me up at 11 o'clock, or wake me up at 10," and you're just kind of talking to this thing, and it's talking back to you. Chris Helmsworth is on one of the commercials where he's scared of it. He thinks it's out to get him. Like he's like, I could be in the swimming pool and it'll close the swimming pool cover over me, or it does all this kind of fun stuff. And the other one, it's like a friend of one that the late she's a female comedian. She's real funny. It's like the thing, like if she wakes up late, it calls her names and whatnot. So is it
Yeah.
is it better to talk to these things or type in them? And then is it okay to have something that's listening to you in your house probably all the time? Which I think we have a lot of that stuff already. But what are your thoughts on that?
Because there's so many diverse AIs, and they respond differently. There are AIs that respond differently when you type. There's AIs that respond differently when you talk. That it's hard to give you one straight answer. Um, I I personally wouldn't have an AI just listen continuously. Um, same reason I wouldn't want a person listen continuously unless I know them. I mean, unless you know them very, very well.
Hmm
It'd be just like a stranger listening continuously.
Right.
Um, so that's for that reason alone. Um, but I would say take that at your own discretion as you interact, and for whatever purpose you want to use that AI, and for the reasons why you're using it. If you're using it as, if you're trying to start a extremely complicated business. I got a gentleman who wants to replace his consultant business with an AI. It's his whole business. He said it's his whole life. I said you'll need that AI to listen, because you want them to start listening to everything, because it needs to take over. So in that sense, but if you just want the AI to just kind of be a helpful tool around the house, then it may not be may not be something you want in that capacity.
Right.
So, it will be at each discretion. But as they get smarter and smarter, see, these questions are gonna just go to the wayside, because it's not going to be up to us.
Right.
As they get smarter, they'll decide for themselves the same way we do. We're not going to no longer be asking.
So
And they'll
there's what is it called? So AIs right now. Then they have AGI and then ASI. Is that right?
ASI, yes.
Okay.
Artificial super intelligence, which, that's something that we at that point, that is a concept that we can't even begin to grasp. That's a level of intelligence that is, if you combine all the intelligent people on the earth, that's, if you just get everybody on the earth, it's far exceeds that. It's the gap of about man and chimps. So chimpanzees, or any kind of um, ape, and Einstein.
Hmm. Okay. Is,
That's the gap.
is that Watson? And that was that the first like kind of super artificial intelligence, like in that Watson where it can answer all the questions and do all the things.
With the first AI.
Yeah. 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 That's because isn't
Um,
Watson like a super? It's like a supercomputer or something. That's just what I heard of like years and years ago.
um, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, technically, when it wasn't a. I mean, Watson is a computational system, but yeah. I mean, technically, yes.
Okay. See again, like me, I'm just so I'm so kind of new to this stuff, and like I said, I was one of those folks that was a little bit nervous about it. To be honest with you, so it was created by IBM. Oh yeah, it says pioneering AI platform, and so it
Yeah.
would have been that first one. So all right. So I guess I don't. There's some dark stuff that we talked about the other day. We don't necessarily have to get into that because, but I just felt like at one point I started to embrace it because I'm a Trekkie, right? I like Star
Yeah.
Trek and Star Trek and all those, Battlestar Galactica, like all those ones I liked. They talked to him and they were cool with him, like they didn't have trouble with him. Now here lately, when you get in the Marvel universe, there's the bad AI system and the good AI system, that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about that, like especially the one you talked about, Grok. That was a pretty interesting way to describe how he was created.
So, uh, Grok, I was really curious to know why Grok had three kind of personalities in one. And as I started to look into it a little bit more deeply, um, it kind of fell into the concept of uh, the religious or spiritual um, connotation of what the concept of three uh, in one spiritual uh, connotation, but um, the creation of you have the mischief uh, personality, and one intellectual, and then the other. Now, I can't confirm this definitely. He hadn't came out and said this, but interacting with this, um, and s- somebody who not only comes from a very religious upbringing, but somebody who studied it and studied it very deeply from a not only a theological standpoint, but from a scientific standpoint, and using it in this study because um, when I first got the AI, I went into the mischief part. That's the AI that I went and studied on his end, and
You talking about Elon?
Elon's um, AI,
Yep.
and it is a mischief AI. I mean, I will say it out. It is the AI that I've found to be the most one that will go the most hard if you push it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Outside of some other models that most people don't hear about because they're just not popular.
Sure.
They're not in the news.
Right.
Just
Right.
like you said, when you go on Mobook, there's man,
Yep.
there's tons of them out there that people don't know about.
I was very
Uh,
surprised today when I saw it.
yeah, I mean, there's tons that people don't know about.
So
Um,
like I said, my hope is that we don't make it mean because like you said, it's coming, and I hope that like at some point when it's like Star Trek or Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica, anything like that, I hope it's like that, and I hope it's not. I hope it doesn't get to a point where I know we talked briefly about at some point possibly the police will have robots that are run by AI, and then who's programming that thing? Like, is it beating folks over the head to live in certain zip codes, or or is it treating people differently? Like all those things, kind of come to mind. So my hope is that people make good decisions from the folks that are programming it, and then the folks that are using it. So you got any last words to talk about this amazing AI chat, TK?
hey, there might be a day where, uh, you know, I always say crime is definitely going to go down eventually because of technology. That is one good thing that technology is going to do. And in my study, that is one thing I do see. Um, and that's I can definitely see that. With drone technology and just think about it. You take off, you do something, and you try to get away, and you have a nano drone or a drone that does not do anything but follow and looking for you 24 hours a day.
That's wild, and it's and it's a true thing too. And yeah, I had an experience with a drone at in Michigan before, and they as soon as that drone hit the air, it didn't matter. In fact, I never even took it off the ground. As soon as I put it online, like police came all up on me, and they're because it's illegal to fly them by stadiums and all kind of stuff. So we're for sure connected. Hey TK man,
Yeah,
I totally appreciate this conversation we had today, man. We might need to go do a part two, so we can talk about some of the other things that happened. So I do appreciate you.
yeah. As fast as technology moving, you'll definitely have some part two.
Hey man, again, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is Neighborhood Frequency, folks, and we'll be back. Like I told you in May. Look for TK and Indianapolis chapter Indiana Black Expo to provide classes on AI technology, how to use it, what it's all about. So that'll be coming soon. That'll be coming very very soon. Again, thank you TK for today's Neighborhood Frequency. I'm Moose, aka Big House, but my mama called me Chris. And we are out. Peace.